Vaishnavi from Early Autism Ventures. I'm the care coordinator. Thank you for deciding to spend your afternoon with EAV today. We are very happy to have you all here today. And it's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Gayatri, who will be leading our today's session. And just a quick intro about her. She's a life coach and also, more importantly, an autism mom herself. So, as the parent of one of our kids here, she brings both her professional expertise and also her personal journey into this space. So, we are all truly excited to have her today share her experiences and also, let me say, insights with all of us today. So, please join me in warmly welcoming her to this session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me for this session. And I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy to be able to share what I feel are my thoughts and my perspective as an autism parent and as a life coach. So, the way that we need to handle ourselves, our lives, our children, something that I have learned, something that's part of my lived experience. So, again, thank you, Early Autism Ventures. I'm so glad to be here. And so, beautiful souls, shall we begin the session? If we shall, if you're all ready, please give me a yes in the chat box. Thank you, Suchitra. We'll begin. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. I've got 2 yeses. I'll wait for maybe 1 more or 2 more yeses. Oh, yeah, I got them all. Thank you. Give me a moment. Let me share my screen because I have a lot to show you and I have a lot for you to think about. So I hope I can achieve that today. And here you are. There be my screen. And if it has loaded for you, if you can view my screen again, can you please give me a yes in the chat box?
We can see your screen, yes.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you who've decided to spend your afternoons with me, with Early Autism Ventures here. And hello to those of you who might not be that familiar with me and who missed out on Vaishnavi's introduction. I am Gayatri. I am an autism mom. I am a postgraduate in physics from IIT Madras. I am many other things, but mainly I'm Krishna's mother. And I'm so thrilled for all of you to be here because most of us are bound by common experience. We are autism parents, we are therapists, we are educators, and a lot of us struggle to handle our feelings, our acceptance, and a whole lot of other things once we discover that our children are on the spectrum. So I think that's enough about me, and let's move into you, my beautiful people, and let's talk about why you're here today and what it is that I can do for you in this session. So, what I will show you today, right now, is that an autism diagnosis is not the end of the world, and an autism diagnosis does not mean doom and gloom. Okay, on the very contrary, it is very much possible for you to live a life that is full of purpose, full of meaning, and full of joy. Not just possible, I'm telling you that it is mandatory that you live your life this way. Because when you're not your best version, when you're not living to the fullest of your capability, how will you be the best parent that your child needs you to be? And don't mistake me, your child definitely needs you to be the best version of yourself, to be at the top of your game all the time, which I know is not very easy, but that's what demanded is of what is demanded of us as autism parents. How else, if you are not at your best, will you show your child how to live with grace and happiness? So I think I've spoken a lot about why you need to be at the top of your game, why you need to actively pursue and chase down that happiness, purpose, and strength, which you may have lost, on the way when the diagnosis comes in and when you feel that you're very alone, when you feel that you've been isolated from friends, from family, because your child is autistic. And that is such a very different experience for many of us. In fact, for most of us. I think what happens is that immediately after the diagnosis, we suddenly feel a sense of having been cut off from all that is familiar, all that we know, all that we've been brought up with, and all that, is part of our lived experience. Because most of us are neurotypical. Now, I'll be using the word neurotypical pretty often. That is to mean normal, quote unquote, normal. So basically, the majority of us who experience the world in a certain way, who process the world in a certain way. You, me, your friends, everyone who goes to school, college, gets a job, goes about life with minimal issues. So, what happens when your child is called autistic, when your child is labeled autistic? I'm all alone. There's no one with me. Who will I share this experience with? To whom can I talk to? To whom will I just talk about my emotions, my experiences every day, my problems handling my child, my child's meltdowns, my issues in handling how to go about this meltdown. So, whom do I even share this with? So that feeling comes so much, and we feel so alone that we think that, okay, that's it, doom and gloom, kya ho gaya mere ke, all that kind of feeling that comes in, that isolation brings in. But let me share a little bit of data with you. Did you know that in India alone, there are 2 million children who have been diagnosed to be autistic? 2 million. And let me come to that data again. So when I say that 2 million children have been diagnosed, this is India. So can you imagine the number of people who do not have access to medical facilities, the number of people who don't have access to resources, to therapists, to developmental pediatricians, the number of people who have access but don't want to make use of that access because of family pressure, social stigma, or whatever feeling that they have that they don't want to disclose to the world or even to themselves, that their child may be different, that their child might have some issues, with settling with the world as it is. So that's a huge chunk of population that you're looking at. That's a really huge chunk of population that you're looking at. And the diagnosed children are already 2 million. So what does that mean? How many parents are there? Will you drop a number in the chat box, please? If there are 2 million autistic children, how many autism parents are there in the world? Want to share? Anyone? Hmm? There are 4 million autism parents in the world right now. In India, sorry, not in the world. 4 million diagnosed autism parents, of a population of 1.3 billion. That's probably increased by the last time I checked the data of India's population to today. No doubt that's increased. So I might be mistaken. So it's only going to be more. But what does all this stuff that I talk right now mean? You're not alone. You're absolutely not alone, just in our own country. Okay, so let's go from there. And if you see to yourself, if you look to yourself, if you look at your own well being, your own strength, and in your own perspective of this world, there is so much that you can do for yourself and for your child. Okay, now let me move ahead. After your child's diagnosis, how did you first feel? If I can take you back to that moment in your life, how did you first feel? What were your first thoughts? Can't be. Why me? This is so unfair. Will my child be okay? What shall we do now? Maybe you thought that post the visits to the doctors and to the therapist, perhaps you thought or felt that maybe, you will take your child for 3 months of therapy, 6 months of therapy, okay, 1 year of therapy, and they'll be fine. They'll be back to going to normal school. Maybe you thought that way. All of this is perfectly okay to feel, because very frankly, if I can share part of my story, that's how I began to, and that is the exact way that I felt when Krishna was first diagnosed. I'll come back to that anyway. But the thing with us is, when we get the diagnosis, our child is the most precious person in the entire universe to us at that point in time. And they, not just at that point in time, perhaps even very much into the future, but the most important, the most precious, the most sought after person in your life is suddenly not okay, has this mysterious illness, has this diagnosis which might not be healed, that nobody wants to talk about, and you feel scared, you feel grief, you feel shock, you feel denial, you feel all sorts of things. You're a mess. I was a mental mess. Very frankly, let me admit, I was a mental mess, and my husband was a mental mess when Krishna was first diagnosed. And that's okay. It's perfectly normal to feel that okay. And to get a little bit more into this, will you give me permission to share my story with you? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, we have the chat box. Without waiting for your yeses, I've happily moved on. Forgive me for that. Okay, so, all right. What you see on your screen right now is obviously me, and it's Krishna, my little fellow, as he was when he was 2 years old, when we had absolutely no idea that, that he might be autistic. When the word autism didn't feature anywhere in our universe, in our vocabulary, in our dictionary, nowhere. All right. So Krishna was a bright, bubbly, talkative little fellow. He would demand your attention after reciting all the nursery rhymes or numbers or shlokas that my dad had taught him. Talk non-stop, demand attention. Tata, very good chollu. By the way, I'm breaking into Tamil a little bit. So chollu means say. Tata, very good chollu. Grandfather say very good. Amma, very good chollu. Amma say very good. Appa, very good chollu. Appa say very good. Whoever, Ammama very good cholu, Divya very good cholu, Devi very good cholu. Whoever was there in my house, he would command their attention, demand it, and generally whatever you would expect of a bright, bubbly 2-year-old. And then what happened? When he was about 4, one fine day he began to pee all over the hall, and we were like, "What? What's up? Is this a new game? I mean, like, what's wrong?" It did not occur, and he was fully toilet trained at this point in time. It absolutely didn't occur to any one of us in the family that this was actually the first sign of his regression and this was the first expression of his autism. We didn't even go there. So then, over the next week, my mom and I kind of retrained him to use the washroom, and everything seemed okay. He began school the next week for the very first time in his life. And that one week was a week of so much of stress and anxiety, the first half of which was completely hidden from us because Krishna did not express at home. And I had no idea what was happening in his classroom. But at the end of the week, he had a meltdown episode. He had a tantrum episode, which left us again in the middle of nowhere, wondering that what happened? Absolutely, what had happened with our child? The trauma that he faced in the school itself is a huge story. I will not get into it here today, but some other space, some other time, I will definitely get into the details of the story because I feel it's very important to be shared, but not today. I think it's not within the scope of this particular training that I'm having. So, all right. So at the end of the week, we decided that something was up and we needed to take him to the doctors. So we went to NIMHANS in Bangalore, and that began a 5-day session of a lot of evaluations, of assessments, of examinations, etc., etc., etc. And at the end of it, Krishna had the diagnosis open. He is autistic. So these 5 days had given us a lot of time to kind of prepare, but I still can't even, today begin to tell you the amount of shock and despair that both my husband and I felt at that moment. I'm not ashamed to say that, we broke down, we cried, both of us. And we just couldn't suppress it. Where did this come from? Where did these emotions come from? It's that feeling of loss, the feeling of despair, and the feeling that you just don't know where to go ahead from then. Because what I knew, what my husband knew was that Krishna is not normal. Krishna will have a very different life. And Krishna cannot follow the familiar path that both he and I and everybody that we knew had followed. I mean, you grow up, you go to school, you take tests, blah, 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 blah. There's a specific path that we follow, right? From the time that we are born to our journey into adulthood and then onward from there. So we knew even at that time with the limited knowledge that we had that that was not the path for Krishna. That was so scary, absolutely scary. And yeah, so like I shared, we cried. This is so okay, and this is so normal, and this is what I am telling you today. From 7 years later, from where I am today, I'm telling you that this is perfectly okay. What is not okay is to suppress these emotions. What is absolutely not okay is to bury these emotions. And what is not okay is to never openly examine them. And we do that a lot, as parents. We just keep it aside. All right, so we have our little breakdowns, or we hide in the bathroom and cry, or we scream into the pillow. I know, been there, done that. And then we push it away. We suppress it and we say, okay, let me look at my child now. Enough of thinking about me. Yes, that is an immediate coping mechanism. Absolutely, yes, but not in the long run. So there needs to be a time when you don't get stuck in these feelings forever. You don't suppress them forever, but you pull them out, you bring them out into the open, and you talk about them, at least to yourself, or you talk about them in a safe space, in a non judgmental space, to a person who will hold that space for you. And that is so, so, so important. And that I feel is something that we are missing a lot in our autism journey. But then that's there. So I shared, right, how we felt and how I think is the feeling of most parents once the diagnosis comes through. And I didn't even realize it at the time. But these stages of grief have actually been analyzed, have actually been studied, and psychologists have very specific stages and explanations for them. And I will share them with you here in a moment. Because the grief which begins when we realize that our dreams for the future are killed, that our thoughts and expectations for our child are killed, and our fear of the unknown. So, all of this to which we don't put words actually, it is a huge, huge, huge thing. So, let me take you there. Let me show you what it is that people are talking about the 5 stages of grief. To begin with, denial. Mhm. We don't believe it. We don't believe in the diagnosis. The doctor must be mistaken. Let's go for a second opinion. Let's go for a third opinion. Oh, we did all this, by the way, for Krishna. Absolutely, we did all this. A lot of denial. Next, what comes? Anger. We rage. We blame fate. We blame God. We have people around us who will blame us also. We have friends, family, though those very helpful relatives who say, I mean, it's all because of you. You did something wrong. And in a lot of cases, the mother gets a lot of the blame because no doubt she messed up something during her pregnancy or whatever. The blame game, the anger on part of the parents, and the anger that is dumped on us as parents from society and from our relatives too. So there is the second stage of grief. And then what happens? We enter the bargaining stage. What do I mean by bargaining? We start praying maybe to various gods. We start hoping that there's some magic that will come into our lives when we either, I don't know, go through some ritual or visit some temple or place of worship, or some godman will come and say, do this parihar, if I can use that word, or some astrologer will come and say that this is this in your kundli, or this is this in your horoscope, and that is why your child is like this, so you must do ABC steps and then magic will happen and your child will become okay. I think that's very, very common here in our country. We went through all of this too. I will very openly tell you, we went through all of this. And I need not share this perhaps, but I will still share it. It's no use. It's absolutely no use. And we get to realize that too. So the denial happened, no effect. Anger, rage at home, no effect. Bargaining, been there, done that, and your wallet is probably several thousands lighter after all the bargaining phase is over. Nothing happened. What is left? Depression, feeling miserable, feeling gloomy, feeling like, this is the end of my life, this is the end of my child's life, and there is no way forward from this. And again, this depression that happens, it's pretty common, I would say, and it's pretty normal too. And what is in our power, what is in our hands is to break out of that cycle. Don't get stuck over there. Break out of it and get out of this entire, spiral of grief, if I can call it a spiral right now. Because the only way that you can, move forward positively is through acceptance. You really need to internalize it, not just here, but here, that your child is different. Different does not mean less. Different is difficult, very much, yes. But difficult has a lot of beauty in it too. Difficult has a lot of challenges, yes. There is so much of beauty, there is such a sense of achievement that you can reach if only you get into acceptance, a positive acceptance. By acceptance, I don't mean that you say, my child is autistic. There's nothing more I can do about it, and then just sit there at home and not do anything at all beyond that. Okay. All right. Then, why is it that we find it so difficult to get into acceptance from grief? There are a lot of myths about, wow, what is this interesting red line that has appeared on my screen? Chalo, I'll ignore it for the time being because I don't know what to do about it. All right, now I've got this very beautiful, very scary picture on your screen, which talks about autism myths. And a lot, these contribute a lot to the reason why we get stuck in our spiral of grief, why we are not able to break out of it. So I have put it on the screen, quite self-evident. Bad parenting, bad blood, your child is mad, ये तो पागल है, कुछ भी नहीं कर पाएगा. Vaccinations, that's a huge thing, by the way, that's happening. That my kid had a vaccination, they fell sick after that and became autistic because of the vaccination. I don't need to get too much into the evil spirits part of it, perhaps, but that is also there a lot, especially in sections of society where the parents are not that educated and they are more into the myths and superstitions that have been handed down to us. And of course, my favorite, bad karma, or whatever evil that we did as parents in this birth or the previous birth or whatever, you have it. So all of the bad karma has come and manifested in our child as their autism. These deadly myths are there to drag us down. Then there are some myths which are dangerous in the opposite way. Where you think that all autistic people are geniuses and savants, maybe they'll not know how to eat their food, but then they're going to get Nobel Prize in mathematics, or they'll be this wonderful, brilliant musician or artist or a writer or whatever. Extreme capability in some aspect, which, don't get me wrong, is very much there. We do see so many people who are autistic and who are absolutely brilliant, who are savants, that's what they're called, who are savants in some aspect and some skill. But for a majority of autistic people, they're just like us. They're normally autistic, if I can use this extremely strange phrase. That means that neither do they have extremely brilliant skills, any one aspect, extremely brilliant skills, nor are they completely useless at everything. Just like us, we have our strengths, we have our weaknesses, and so do autistic people, and therefore so do our children who are on the autism spectrum. They have some strengths, they have some weaknesses, and it is very much up to us to figure out which they are. But the problem with the positive autism myth, that every autistic person is a savant, is that when you see that your child is perhaps not expressing in this brilliant, wonderful, marvelous way in some aspect or the other, you start getting discouraged. You start with other autistic children. You feel that either you are good for nothing or your child is good for nothing. All very dangerous and all a very horrible space to be in. Because what we need to do is we need to meet our children where they are. And it's up to us. We need to make the effort to meet our children where they are. And not foist these beliefs and these myths upon, therefore make a mess of our lives and our children's lives. So, where do we move from this? Where do we move from autism myths and all of these miserable feelings? We move to a little bit of introspection right now. If I have your permission for that, yes. Are you all willing to do a small little activity? or a little bit of thinking about what griefs you carry, what lost hopes do you carry, what thoughts that you had for your child, what dreams you had for your child. What is it that you think that you have lost? It could even be self-blame. It could be fear for your child's future. That's a very valid fear that many of us have. So, will you take a few minutes to just note this down, just jot this down? You can use a piece of paper if you have it. You can write it in your phone, on your laptop, anything at all. But take 5 minutes. It is 3:29 right now. So at 3:34, let's resume this session. But take these 5 minutes. Just think about what are these hopes or griefs or dreams that have been shattered that you still carry inside of you. Never mind when your child's diagnosis was. Maybe it was 5 years ago, maybe it was 10 years ago, or maybe it was 3 months ago. But what is it? Just examine yourself. Let me see if I can give you some beautiful music while you just do a little bit of introspection. Yes, Madhavi, absolutely. That's my child's future. I'll be also stuck with him. The future looks fearful. Absolutely. It was the same for me too. Thank you so much for sharing here in the chat box. Absolutely, Aradhana, yes. Fear related to his security, future, academics, social skills. And that is a fear that I still carry for Krishna. Precisely, Ratish. What happens to them after our lifetime? Absolutely. The what after us question is huge, isn't it? How will he survive in this world? Yes, Sarita. All of these fears that we have are very valid and they are rooted in our love for our children and also the lack of knowledge, both of them. Yes, what will happen to our children after us? Very much. I'm not a good enough parent for my child, not able to provide for my child. A lot of self-blame. Yes, yes, Shalini. There are so many days and so many nights when I decided that, maybe what I'm doing is not enough, and perhaps if Krishna had been born in another family, would they have done better for him? There are all of these thoughts which come. Future in the world, and I'm not there, and the burden is sister. My broken dream, the chatterbox like me, play with his sister, dad, and me, cannot, for example, be that boy in school who does his work right. I'm the chatterbox in my family. Absolutely right. And my sister and I used to get on. I love reading so much. Krishna cannot read. He has lost that skill in his regression. Why me? My life is over. What next? Despair, helplessness, frustration. Yes, Radhika, absolutely. Very much. Yes, and thank you all for sharing your fears over here. Thank you so much. Oh, is it? The music is too loud? All right. Let me pause that. Okay, now, beautiful soul. So, are all of you done with this introspection? If you're done, please drop done in the chat box. Or if you want more time, drop an empty. You're done. Thank you. Wonderful. Will he be independent someday? Very valid. Done, 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 done. Okay, wonderful. Beautiful. So, what was the purpose of this exercise? All of these fears are the source of our grief. And many of these fears, especially the what after us, is something for which we need to figure out the answer, which we can figure out the answer. And there are very discrete steps that we can take to figure out the answer. But before we go there, we need to acknowledge that our fear and the lack of knowledge that we have is what creates this cage of grief that traps us. And we have created the cage, we created the lock, and we locked the lock and threw away the key. And we are stuck inside the page. Now, if you ask me about the what after this question, I will very much handle this, but outside the scope of this particular session. And that, again, like I shared, is a fear which I have in common with you. But then let's come back to the other things. So, the fear is two parts for our children and also for us. What about our life? What happens to our future? Do we have anything at all in our life apart from our children? Or are we forever our children's nursemaids and caregivers? Are we forever our children's keepers? This is again a deep and valid fear and something that many of us feel guilty for. If we have this fear and we start thinking about ourselves and our life, we feel guilty that, hey, look at my child. My child is in such a situation. And instead of worrying about them, I'm worried about myself. I'm worried about my life. So that happens again with many of us. And again, that's a vicious cycle, right? It's a trap that you get into again. The fear is valid. You are entitled to have a life apart from your child because that life apart from your child is what builds you into who you are. That is why you are the person that you are. And the person that you are becomes the parent that you are. So the life that you have away from your child, the time that you have away from your child is vital in building you back into the person that you are and to the person that you can be, and therefore into the parent that you can be. It's not easy to accept this. Trust me, I didn't accept this for a very, very long time in my journey as an autism parent. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Krishna is in this condition. He's having a meltdown. He's having pain issues. I've not figured out what to do about him. And I'm worried about myself. What sort of a mother am I? I very much had these feelings. And today I can tell you that there is no reason for you to be worried about, for you to not be worried about your life away from your child. It is a very important aspect of you which you need to have. Then, of course, there are all the fears we have for our children about their future, about their abilities. How do we grow their skills? How do we make them independent of us? How will they survive in this world without us? And my entire point is these fears that we have for our children, again, we need to handle it exactly like we handle our fears for our own lives. Set them down, break down your fears into smaller, handleable chunks, and see the action that you can take today to address that fear. And there is a lot that you can do right today about how you go about enabling your child so that they can handle themselves, so that they can be ready for a life when you're not around to protect and take care of them every minute of their life. So this, we talked about the fear aspect that creates the bars of our cage of grief. There is also the lack of knowledge, because a lot of our fears are again fed in by the myths and hang-ups that we have about autism. And one small story that maybe I can share with you here is that one of the very common one of the very common things that is accepted as a truth about autism is that autistic people don't express emotions and they don't feel emotions. Wrong. Big, idiotic, preconceived notion or myth, because even in those children and grown-ups who are not perhaps able to express their emotions, they very much feel it. Autistic people are human beings, and their genome is maximum 1% different from the neurotypicals of the world. If we can feel emotions, they definitely do. If we struggle to express ourselves, to communicate our emotions, so many times we do that, don't we? It would be wonderful if we don't have graffiti on the screen. And I have no idea how to remove this.
Ma'am, we'll remove it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it would be really wonderful, if all of us can maintain a degree of politeness and a degree of respect for the space that we are in right now. Wonderful. Thank you. So let me move ahead. So where was I? Yeah. So one of the aspects of lack of knowledge that I wanted to talk about is how autistic people are supposed to not either feel or express emotions. And that again is such a huge myth. Some people might not be able to express, many people do. For example, my own Krishna is the most expressive human being in the entire world that I have seen in terms of his emotions, though he cannot communicate with words and he cannot communicate his other needs. So, the thing is that there are so many differences that we seem to perceive in a person who's autistic, which is different from our experience of the world, and so these myths come about. Let me just take a minute to take you back to that myths page that I had. Here you go. Now, in this beautiful Medusa head of myths that I have created over here, my most favorite, most vilified myth is this thing on bad karma. All right. That's something that I have personally come across many times. People will express their, empathy for you and say, oh, so sad. What can you do? It is your bad karma or your parents' bad karma. And that is why your child is like this. Nonsense. Let me tell you that you have gold level karma or platinum level karma, if I can call it that, because let me digress a little bit. Who is a person who's a role model for you? Who is a person that you admire? Is it someone who's, in a lot of comfort, in a lot of happiness, in a lot of peace, which is a wonderful place to be in, by the way. Don't mistake me. It's a wonderful place to be in. But does comfort, does happiness, does status quo urge you on to change anything about yourself? Is it conducive to growth of any sort? Or does it lead to complacence? So when someone comes and tells you that it's bad karma and that is why your child is like this, I want you to say that it is my gold level karma and that is why my child is like this, because the challenges that I will face, the struggles that I'm going to go through, the emotional, the mental, the physical strength and maturity that I need to achieve are on such an amazing level that this is where my inspiration comes. My child is my inspiration. My child is someone who's egging me onto this. So it is as if that I am a sixth standard student and I have gotten a triple promotion to 10th or 11th or 12th. And someone who's just doing maybe commercial math needs to do integration and differentiation immediately. You need to do calculus. Is it going to be easy? No, absolutely not. It's not going to be easy. It is not an easy path. It is a very difficult path. But in facing your difficulties, in facing your challenges, in surmounting these issues is where your strength grows, is where you evolve as a soul. and is where you get that appreciation of the fact that you have this capability in you, that your child has this capability in them. Oh, they do. They absolutely do. Okay, it's something that we very easily underestimate in our children and in ourselves, that they cannot meet these challenges and difficulties that they're going through. It needs a lot of work. It is not easy. It is difficult. And it is so absolutely worth it once you take that decision to take this path, to get over the feeling that, oh my God, I'm doomed to. I am not doomed. I have got this magnificent opportunity, this beautiful circumstance given to me by fate or universe or God or whomever you believe in, to create such a beautiful, improved, evolved version of myself, which I wouldn't have otherwise. Very frankly, let me share that I would not do half the things that I'm doing, three-fourths of the things that I'm doing today, but for Krishna. If Krishna had been neurotypical, I would be happily settled in status quo. And that is the magic of opportunity. That is the magic of fate or universe or whatever you want to call it, that has been given to us as a gift, as a trust in these beautiful children of ours. That if only, you see that and you make use of this, there is no limit to what you can achieve as a person and as a human being. Now, I talked a lot about myths. I talked a lot about the fake beliefs that you have about autism. So, let me come to what is actually autism. What is it? People call it a spectrum, and they say that, they say a lot of things. Now, let me give you a very dumbed down version, even if I do say so myself, which I actually understood from this very beautiful site created by Rebecca Burgess, which is on the art of autism. And it's a very, very easy explanation. It's easy to grasp. So, what is this picture that I have on my slide? It's about this beautiful smiling kid. That's all our children. And instead of his brain, I have given you a color wheel, which has all the spectrum colors, all right, representative of the spectrum. But let's visualize that this spectrum is the human brain. Now, different parts of this brain are responsible for different functions. So let's say that the yellow handles communication. It's just a random color that I've picked up and chosen. All right. So there is no actual yellow patch in your brain which stands for communication. It's just an example. So let's say that yellow is for communication. Orange is for motor skills. Then what do I have here? I have green for perception. I have purple for sensory processing. And I have blue for executive function. All right, so these are the major sections of our brain which handle the major processing that we go through every day for our daily lives. So, motor skills, picking up, grasping, cycling, walking, writing, all of that comes under motor skills. Sensory processing, when you handle all the inputs that your five senses give you, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, and what you feel. So you have sensory inputs coming from your five senses. How does your brain process, handle, interpret that? That is sensory processing. Communication, what we are doing right now, I am speaking, you're listening, you're internalizing, you're writing, you might ask me a question. All of this is communication. Perception, how we perceive the world around us, how you see your screen, how you see maybe the room that you're sitting in, the chair, all of this, and how do you process that? The input that your sensory processing aspect of your brain gives you is converted into how you perceive that particular stimulus or that particular input. Executive function. I'm thirsty. I need to drink a glass of water. So my hand reaches out, picks up a mug of water, and drinks it. This very simple task, for example, is an example of executive function. Now, our neurotypical brains handle all of this in the way that we are all familiar with, the way we experience the world. Now, what happens in an autistic person, in our children? So, autism is a part of neurodivergence. So, you say that an autistic person is neurodivergent. What does the term mean? Some part or aspect of their brain, one of these colors, the yellow, green, blue, purple, orange, one of this is wired differently. So it interprets signals differently, it experiences those signals differently, and therefore exhibits them or demonstrates them differently. So let me give you an example. Let us take communication. So again, an autistic person can be neurodivergent in any one aspect or many aspects. So maybe just communication can be impacted, or just sensory processing can be impacted, or maybe it's a combination of sensory processing plus communication, or it could be sensory processing, communication, executive function, motor skills, or it could just be in perception. So all of these possible combinations are possible. And now let me give you an example. Let's say that a child is impacted in sensory processing. What does that mean? The light in the room might be too bright. The sounds that you hear, maybe the fan is running, or maybe I don't know, there's a car going on the road outside. That sound might be too much. The feel of their clothes, this feel, I'm touching this material. This feel might be completely unbearable. Maybe it feels like fire and crawling on their skin. You don't know. It could be the other end of the spectrum also. Maybe this is not enough of a sensory input. Maybe they need to grasp like this, or maybe they need to hit like this. Maybe the light in the room is completely insufficient and they need extra powerful. Maybe they need a 100-watt bulb instead of a 10-watt bulb. So when this sensory processing is impacted so much, let's say there is nothing wrong at all with the communication aspect. The child is fully capable of communicating in the normal way, like how we do, but they are in sensory overload. How do you expect this child to answer a simple question that you might have asked at that point in time? So maybe I say, Krishna, are you thirsty? Will you come and drink water? And he's being bombarded by lights, by sounds, by smells, by the texture of his clothes on his skin. Do you think he'll be able to answer, or answer in any meaningful way at all? No, absolutely not. And same is what happens when maybe it's perception that's impacted, or executive function, or any or more combinations of all these parts of the brain. So that is part of the reason why the child exhibits behaviors, you could say. That's part of the reason why they have meltdowns. That's part of the reason why they may seem perfectly fine at home one day, but having a dreadful day outside. Maybe they went to school and something happened, something triggered, and that's the reason why they're having a meltdown and absolutely behaving in such a different way from what you think is a similar situation at home. So the part of the reason why I shared all of this is just to create a very basic understanding in you of what is happening with your child and why they are the way that they are. Now, I don't know which aspect has been impacted in your child, or even in Krishna. I'm not even sure about which all aspects are impacted, because it's very difficult to, separate them, segregate them and say, no, communication is fine, but only executive function has been. Skills are fine. It's a sensory processing issue. It's very difficult because everything is interrelated. Nothing is in isolation. Okay, so the point is that when we have maybe a little bit of understanding as to what is happening with our children, a little bit of understanding as to why they might be having a very completely different experience of the very same situation that you are having, or maybe your other child who's neurotypical is having. So why is your neurodivergent child, why is your autistic child behaving the way they are? Yeah, a very simplistic explanation, but still, this is part of the reason why. So we have covered all of the difficulties of being a parent of an autistic child, of being an autism parent. We have covered a lot about all the issues, the fears, the guilt, the self-blame, the sheer daily difficulty, the physical difficulty in handling your child and helping your child go about their daily activities. Now, let me present to you an alternative worldview, maybe a parallel perspective, or maybe some magic happened and you got into this bubble and you flew into a different world. And what sort of a world is that? It's a world of calm, it's a world of peace, it's a world of strength, and it's a world of beauty. So just bear with me right now for 2 minutes and I will talk a little more about this. But what I really want you to do right now is close your eyes, breathe out to a count of 4, Completely empty your lungs. Breathe in now, gently, naturally let the breath flow in. Fill your lungs and breathe out again. Fill your lungs and breathe out again. All your stress is falling away. And all the kitch that's happening in your mind, all the trouble that is falling away. You're listening to this music. You're listening to a music that's playing in your own mind, which is the music of sunlight on your face. It's the music of the breeze on the trees. It's the music of the warmth of love, the warmth of companionship. It is the music of peace. It is the music of strength. And this peace and this strength that you're feeling right now, it's with you always. It's that warmth when the weather is cold. It's the pleasant, cool breeze when it's too hot. It's that absolute sense of wonderful well being. It doesn't leave you come what may. This beauty, this tranquility, this strength, whatever name you want to give it, stays with you forever. Stays with you no matter what is happening in your outside world. Stays with you irrespective of anything at all. This peace cannot be taken away from you. This peace is you. This is your strength. This is innate to you. And this is never going to leave you. This is never going to leave you into the face of physical exertion, physical disability, mental trauma of any sort, societal pressure, judgment from others. Nothing can impact this. This is who you are. So breathe in again, breathe out again, and very slowly, when you feel ready to come back, you can open your eyes. But soak in this feeling and hold on to it. And when you're feeling ready to come back, just say me back in the chat box and open your eyes. So open your eyes and say, I'm back. All right then. Let's get back to our current world. Please stop the music now. This peace that I hope you felt, this peace that is embodied here in this picture. If you'd like to feel this, if you would like to hang on to this forever with my help, then I invite you very gently to come on a longer journey with me. It's an 8-week program that I'm offering you to regain control of your life and move beyond helplessness into proactive parenting, to identify your child's learning style, to identify why they behave the way they do and how inclusion begins at home, and to understand the whole concept of inclusion before we bring it out and fight for our children's rights, advocate for our children in schools and other public spaces. I will show you the first step to thriving, the base work which we did today, which needs a lot more deeper work and inner work so that you take those concrete steps to face your fears and address them for both yourself and for your child. And I will show you the route to a harmonious life. How do you plan? How do you get that image that beautiful peace, tranquility back in your life forever. When your child is having a meltdown and throwing food at the walls and screaming their guts out, and you've got maybe 5 minutes to get them ready and move out of the house yourself for work and still be at peace and feel that harmony. So, if you're ready for this, my program will include a recorded video session. You will have worksheet activities very similar to what I shared with you here. You will have weekly challenges to complete based upon the concept that we are covering for that week. I will give you PDF handouts of the core concepts. And each week we will have workshops and a discussion with me on what has happened that week. So what is it that you want to talk to me about? What is it that you want to share about your difficulties, about your issues, anything that you would like to argue about? All of this will happen in the weekly workshops and the sessions that you have with me. For a very small, I feel, price of just 11,999 that I'm offering today, your choice, it's completely up to you. If you want to register, I will also, by the way, I forgot about this, about my bonus. I'm offering you a bonus on the art of stress-free parenting, which is again 1 hour recorded session plus a session with me, a one-on-one session with me. All of this happens for 11,999. You're more than welcome. You're warmly invited to register in this forms. I will drop the link in the chat box right now. So, and I would request you to save this link because after this session is over, I don't think you will be able to access it. So you can just save this link where you can register and you can move on a longer journey with me. And now, questions. I would love to open up the room to questions. Anything that you want to ask about this session, anything that you want to ask about any aspect of autism parenting at all, please feel free. I'm opening up the floor right now for this. Shalini, you're asking what is bad karma? Bad karma is nonsense in my belief system, but that is my personal belief. Bad karma is what people tell you, well-wishers, people who want to detract you, anybody. They say that you did some bad deed in either your previous life or maybe earlier on in your life, or maybe one of your ancestors did some bad deed. And the result of the bad deed is why your child is autistic. That is the explanation of bad karma in this context, which I'm telling you is absolute nonsense. It's star hash ampersand exclamation mark nonsense. I'm being very polite here and not indulging in bad language. So that is bad karma. And how can we identify triggers of meltdowns? Experience. For example, for me, when Krishna is going to start a meltdown, he has a very specific set of behaviors. He will withdraw. He will lie down with his face down, or he might curl up into a ball. He might start self-hurting, knock his head. All of these are the initial triggers that you can identify for a meltdown. What is the actual cause of the meltdown itself? Again, that is experience. So for Krishna, it is usually something internal. It's an internal pain, which I learned over the course of years. And it could be too many people around, a new situation, a new person he does not like, or a sudden change in the weather. When it moves from cool to warm, by the way, not from warm to cool. Warm to cool is something that makes him very happy. So this is again something that I have learned over the years and with experience with my child because I know how he reacts.
Okay.
And what
Thank you,
we
doctor.
have, not at all a doctor, I'm just a mom.
But that was pretty like, yeah, that was really good advice. So yes.
Thank you. Glad to be of help. Okay, balancing between autistic kid and normal elder sibling. That's such a beautiful question, Preeti, and that's such a tightrope walk many times because, especially when the child is elder, they have many times this feeling that they are being ignored, they are being neglected, and that needs are always being sacrificed for the younger sibling who is autistic, who needs mama more, who needs their father more, who needs the attention. So, do I not need the attention? Is the question of the elder sibling. What I can suggest from my own experience and my thoughts is have some quality time with your elder child whenever you can. Have a conversation with your elder child about why their younger sibling is the way they are and why their younger siblings' entire universe is so very different, and why, because you as a parent have limited bandwidth. I mean you can't give 24 hours of your time to both your children, physically impossible, and out of those 24 hours you need at least 12 hours to yourself. So it is physically impossible for you to allocate the same amount of attention to both. And your normal elder sibling is now in a position of, so much of, not position, in a space where they can give so much of love, they can give so much of support, and they have so much of learning that they can do if they choose to. It's the same thought that I'm sharing with the parents, if they choose to. And make that choice so attractive to your child, to your elder child. Make that choice such a wonderful choice that they are in the position to do this for the younger sibling from a place of love and from a place of strength. And therefore, it's a beautiful thing. I don't think it's something easy for the child to accept. So it is going to be a series of conversations, not a single conversation. Acknowledge your elder child's feelings, whatever they might be. Maybe they feel they're being neglected, or they feel that you prefer their younger sibling more. Whatever their feelings are, whether you agree with it or not, but acknowledge it, because for your other child, that feeling is very valid. I mean, they're feeling that way. There's nothing that you can argue with about that. So please acknowledge this, but have this conversation saying that, yes, I know this is how you feel. And this is how our world is right now, Raja. So that is the conversation you need to have. Tough,
Thank you, Gayatri.
but you
And
can
also,
manage.
how do you fight our self guilt? We always get into a self guilt space. When you have
Hmm.
two kids, you need to balance them. We do know that the elder one needs a lot of time as well, but we are not
Mm-hmm.
able to give that. We do agree that her feelings are right, as you said, and we have to talk. But how do we also manage that self guilt? I mean, always, not only in this elder things, always we are always in the self guilt. Most of the time, for different reasons, we get into the self guilt mode. So how do we fight that?
Step one, if it's guilt about which you can do nothing, it is useless, please throw it away. By that, what do I mean? So maybe day before yesterday, your elder child wanted your attention very desperately for something very valid. So maybe they hurt themselves, or maybe they wanted you to help them with an exam question or something like that. I'm just giving you very random examples. And for some reason, you were not able to allocate that time. And today you're feeling guilty that, damn it, day before yesterday, I should have done this. Throw that feeling away, because you can't go back to day before yesterday. But today, what can you do? Next time such a situation arises, you can identify it beforehand, and maybe you can allocate that little bit of time by planning for it. Or you can sit your child down today and have that conversation with them, that I know that you needed me yesterday and I'm really so sorry that I was not there for you. But my what do you call it? My masburi, or the my vulnerability at that time was because of this. And so, yes, I'm truly sorry that I could not give you that space. I could not give you that time. And I will do my best in future to give you that time. And I would also ask for your understanding and your help in helping me create time for you. So shift part of the responsibility on your child also. And I think if as they are older, it might work out beautifully.
Thank you. That helps.
Mm. And please never feel guilty when you can't do anything about it. It's a waste of emotional energy and mental energy. And be gentle with yourself. And be gentle with yourself. Suppose your sister asked you this question, your sister was in your space. What would you tell her? Oh, you bad woman, how can you not give time to your elder child? Da 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 da. That's not what you're going to say, right? So give that speech, that bhashan to yourself. Have that conversation with yourself. Hmm?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Preeti. Aradhana. Ma'am, how to control one's emotions when you yourself have PMS, when your child is hyper? You can't control your emotions, Aradhana, I think, in the way that you're talking about. I think, again, it's a question of recognizing that you need a little time for yourself. Physically, it might not be possible. Been there, done that. So try to see if you can ask someone to help you at that time, someone else in your family, your friends. If there is nobody and it is you who need to do it, it is perfectly okay to take that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour to yourself and leave your child in a space that is safe with a possible outlet for their hyperactivity. So long as they're not, injuring themselves or hurting someone else. For example, when Krishna does this, and I have no one at home at that time to take care of him, what I do is I let him out in the garden with the trampoline, a small garden area that I have. And I have an eye on him and I supervise him. I let him jump there. I let him play there. I let him do whatever he wants to do within that boundary of safety. So he might want to, uproot a couple of plants and tear up all the grass and chew up on a couple of leaves. And that's okay for me because it's not harmful to him and he's having an outlet for his energy and you're getting the time that you very much need to take a little break, to take some rest. So if this is not possible, then you would really need to find someone that you can ask who can help you out at this time. So just figure out which works best for you. Does that answer your question? Okay. Kamakshi. If not myths, then what is the scientific cause for autism? The scientists themselves are blinking about this one, Kamakshi. As of date, no one knows or no one has pinpointed all and the exact causes for autism. So we will wait. We will wait and we will see what science discovers in the course of research. So the myths are when it is not a correct belief. The myths are when it is proven and you can very well see that this is not what an autistic person is like. And that's what I talked about, like myths. I mean, like bad karma, or all of them are geniuses, or all of them are mad. So all this kind of generalization is what comes under myths, which basically arise from a knowledge of what it isn't. But what exactly is it? Science still has to give us the exact answer. So the part of the answer which we have is that an autistic brain is wired differently, it functions differently. So it processes signals differently. It receives, not receives, it processes signals differently and it expresses the result of that processing differently. So that is autism. And if you want more, again, I need to take much, much more time than we have today because we're already overshooting our time. I would love to take this offline with you if you would like to reach out.
1 second, ma'am. I just want to know that autism is not like a birth defect, right? It develops. So when you talk about wired differently, wiring it happens during the course of the development of the child, or it is by birth. It isn't by birth to call it like it is wired differently, or even
Both,
the development, or according to the development, the changes happen, the wiring happens.
both, because
Both, na?
they
It can
both are
happen.
there. And
Uh,
yeah, as the child grows and as the brain grows and evolves, for example, you might have heard of something called synaptic pruning. If not, I'll not go
mm,
into the details here, but you can always Google it. So, synaptic pruning, which is one of the normal processes as the baby develops into a child, happens differently in an autistic child, in most autistic people. So, there is less pruning that happens, and there is more overload on the brain. And so, the processing times, the way of processing, everything changes. That is just one of the aspects that we know of today. So both are responsible, and it is not a defect, it is a difference. So, and that's what I kind of talked about this entire session, I think. So, does that answer your
and
question?
yes, and also that we cannot identify before it happens.
Yes. As of now, yes. We cannot identify before it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, something actually better they research and tell us. It started, I mean, the journey, I think so. The scientists have started the journey because, I heard it as a vaccination also, ma'am. Sometimes, after vaccination also develops. So, like you told about some certain myths, I heard that. And yeah, so probably we should
Vaccinations
get
do
an
not
answer.
cause autism. Absolutely not. It's not at all proven in any
Mm,
scientific research. But what happens is after vaccination, usually the child falls sick. So you have fevers and that kind of thing as you cope with the whatever the virus or the serum or whatever it is that's been introduced in the body. When you're sick, when the child is sick, the overall body strength is down. And so what happens is at this time, the expressions of autism kind of, are more apparent. And it might be something which causes a trigger or a spike for this expression to be more evident. And that's about it. Otherwise, it is not a cause. So I can't say that nobody can say, in fact, that because you underwent an MMR vaccination, for example, and that caused
mm.
autism. It is not
Like
scientifically proven at all.
Marak's vaccination, yeah. So the cause is not known, so the solution is still, yeah. If you know the cause, it will be better.
They are moving towards it, but again, I think
Yes,
figuring out whether a child is going to be autistic or not before they are born opens another whole can of worms of what is
yes.
ethical, what is moral. So we'll
Mm,
cross the bridge when we come to that.
yeah, sure. Thanks, ma'am.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, where was I? That's Kamakshi. Thank you. Radhika, is this longer journey one-to-one or group sessions? I'm planning both, Radhika. So it will be one-to-one, it will also be group sessions, and I will, to a very great extent, tailor it to the needs of the people who join for the session. So it will be both. Hmm? Thank you. Priya Rao, what is the meaning of borderline autism? I think it is a term, Priya, that has become common when maybe just one aspect of the brain is neurodivergent and that aspect is more manageable than the others. So perhaps you have a child who is academically very brilliant, who is got good motor skills, whose executive function is also fine, and who has maybe one or two issues with sensory processing. Maybe it's just maybe it is light, or maybe it is sound, or maybe they have some issues with social cognition. So I think what happens is when that aspect of autism is more acceptable by society and it is more easily managed, it is called borderline autism. Hmm? Does that answer your question? Okay. Marhub, wanted to know about your son's progress. What is progress now? What type of autism he had? How is he now? And whether he has become independent or not? I will ask the question back to you, Margroup. What do you mean by progress? All right. In Krishna's case, he has regressed in skills since the age of 4. So at 4, he was communicative. He knew how to count. He was mostly self-dependent. And by mostly self-dependent, I mean like any other 4-year-old child. So like any other 4-year-old, the degree of self-help skills that you expect, he had it. That was at 4. Today he is 11. Today he is non-speaking. Today, he needs help in every aspect of his life, from brushing his teeth to peeing to pooing to eating to dressing, everything. Does he understand what's happening in the world about him? Absolutely. Does he understand nuances of what is happening in the world about him? Absolutely, totally. Does he understand other people's emotions, expressions? Completely. Can he express? Mm-mm. Still struggling over there. Why can he not express? He's still regressing. I hope it has stopped. I absolutely hope it has stopped, but we still don't know. So that is a space where we are still exploring. We are trying various strategies with early autism ventures because that is where Krishna goes to for therapy. So if you ask me what is progress, does he control himself better? Does he identify when he is hurting another person when he's in a meltdown? Absolutely. Does he want to hurt somebody else? No. He does his best to not by turning that aggression on himself. So is that progress or isn't it progress? I myself can't answer that question. So, in general terms, has he progressed or not? He has not begun talking again. And he can't, put on his own clothes, tie his shoes, and go to school tomorrow. To which standard should he be in? He should be in, I think, sixth standard right now. He can't go to class six tomorrow. So, no. That's a very mixed response I have, but that is the only response I have. Okay, Aradhana. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the suggestion. I'm so sorry, Aradhana. I have no idea what the suggestion is, but thank you so much if what I said was useful for you. Priya, can a child of 3 undergo therapy sessions who's diagnosed with borderline autism? Absolutely. Your developmental pediatrician or the psychiatrist or the doctor who has diagnosed autism in the child would also need to prescribe which therapies he or she needs, and which therapy will maximum benefit the child. So, yes, absolutely, they can go in for therapy. Margub, thank you. So I'm so glad that answered your question. So this is where I am, Margub, and I think the entire room, I would like to say that when we are worried about the progress in our children, what do we term as progress? And are we going to link what the world terms as progress, what society terms as progress, to our own mental well-being and therefore our child's well-being? No. Let me share a super skill very quickly. A super skill that Krishna has, a superpower that Krishna has. When Krishna is happy, the whole world knows he is happy, and the whole world feels that happiness. His happiness is infectious. You can't look at him and not feel, elated yourself. It's impossible for anybody. Is that a skill that I can quantify? Is that something I can put on his CV? Is that something that I can tell my neighboring auntie, Mrs. Sharma ji, that, Krishna was so happy and therefore I felt happy? And she'll look at me and say, yeah, right. Your kid is not going to sixth standard and you're sitting and dancing about his, showing you how happy he is. That is going to be the general response of society. And it's your job and it's your duty to appreciate what your child has, to value what your child has, and show society why it's so valuable. And that's the reason we are having sessions like this today. I mean, we do need people who show us, who help us, who walk with us as we live life beyond being doctors and engineers and builders and whatever other profession we do to earn a living. So we need to remember that we need to live along with earning for a living. And we need to figure out a way as to how our children can live with the skills that they have, with the person that they are as they are, with whatever it is that they can learn and evolve into, without our trying to ram them into molds. And it's not possible. You cannot ram your child into a mold, come what may. And that effort, that trying on your part is what's going to make you burn out and what's going to make your child burn out in the process. So let's not go there instead. Let's evolve. Let's transform so that we create that world for our children where that tranquility and peace that I hopefully led you through becomes a permanent part of your life. And anything else? Anything else at all? Otherwise, I've really overshot my time. And thank you all so much for being with me through this very long session. Absolutely my gratitude for you. So, and appreciating this very beautiful room that I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for this insightful and a very heartful session, I would say. And let's say your words coming from both like a professional expertise and also your personal journey, it has given us so much to reflect on today. So we are grateful for the time and energy you shared us with today. And a big thank you to you as well as all the parents who have joined us on a Saturday. And your presence and participation made the session really meaningful. Thank you all. So, thank you once again and wishing everyone a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.